Hi, my name is Kelly. Welcome to my channel. I teach technology and computers in an elementary school, and one of the most favorite things that my students love doing is drawing in Google Slides. In today's video, we'll be learning how to draw a school using shapes from start to finish. So get ready and let's tech it out. The first thing I want to do is add a title so that I can always find it in my Google Drive. To start out, we have a blank white page. There are some of the things that we're using today that we will be having white as the color. So I want to change the background immediately to a color that doesn't conflict with the white. So I will choose a blue, and then I'm actually going to adjust it. And if you missed that or miss anything during the video, you can always pause and go back. So to change the background color, I'm clicking background and then I'm selecting a color. In this instance, I want to make it custom because this blue is way too bright. So it already has me on that blue, and I'm just going to drag this over and make it a little bit lighter to make it easier to work with. If you are new to drawing in Google Slides, you need to have these toolbars available. And the best way to make, if you don't have the toolbars available, if your screen looks like this, then you need to click over here on the upper right side on this little V to show the menus so that you have those toolbars available to you. Let's get started. This is the insert shape icon. It's a circle with a square over it. You're going to click on that icon. You have the option of shapes, arrows, callouts, and equations. We're going to click shapes, and we're going to get ourselves a rectangle. You can just click on the page, or you can draw it out yourself. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. I'm going to draw it out myself, and I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to backspace to delete it. Now that I have the base of my school, I'm going to just move it over here, and I want to get rid of my border lines. While I have this blue frame around it is when I can change the colors and remove the lines. If I don't have these blue lines around it, if I click away and the blue lines are gone, my paint bucket and my pen tool is gone. So I'm going to select it by clicking it, and then I'm going to change my background. I'm going to fill the color with dark red, and I'm going to click the pen tool and go down here to transparent. Now I like the way that color looks. I'm now going to add the next shape, which is a triangle. So I'm going to click my shapes, select triangle, and I'm going to draw it out. Like I said, you can do it however you're comfortable with it. I'm going to click to remove the border, make it transparent, click the paint bucket, and make it match the same color that I had before. And then I'm going to use this red line as a guide to position it. Maybe I can move that down just a little bit. There we go. So that's the base of our school. Next, I'm going to add a door using a rectangle. I'll click the shapes and draw the door, which is really a little bit too big. And I'll use that red line as a guide to get it centered and position it. Now I'm going to click my pen tool, make the border transparent, click on my paint bucket, and fill it with black to make the door black. That looks good so far. Next, I'm going to begin adding my windows. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a square, which is the rectangle, and the square is actually the same thing. I'm going to click it, and now that I have a square, when I start to shrink it in to make it smaller, sometimes it loses its shape. I'm going to undo what I just did by clicking the undo button. In order to keep your shape intact, you want to hold down the shift key while you're either pushing in to make it smaller or pulling out to make it bigger. If you hold the shift key down while you're doing that, your shape will hold its form. And for my windows, I actually do want to have a border around it. So I'm going to click on the border color. Right now it's gray. I'm going to change it to black, and I want to make this one thicker. So I'm going to click this next to the pen, the border weight, and I'm going to change that to 3. So now I have a nice thick window, and I think I want to make it look a little reflective. I'm going to actually put some blue into the window. Once I have that, I figure this will probably need about 12 windows. I'm going to, instead of making 12 separate windows, now that I have one that looks good, let me just test it out and move it over and see if I like the way that looks. Yes, I do like the way that looks. I'm going to actually duplicate this 11 more times so that I don't have to keep making the same thing over and over again. So how you duplicate is first you click on it to make sure you have the blue frame around it. And if you're using a Mac, every time I say Control, you're going to use Command, because on a Mac, it's a Command key, and on everything else, it's called Control. And a lot of the times, the word Control has been abbreviated to CTRL. So what you're looking for on your keyboard is Control, Command, or CTRL. You're going to hold it down, and you're going to tap the letter D. And that will give you a duplicate of what you just made for your window. And I think I said 12, so now I have 2. I'm going to do it 10 more times. I'm going to hold down my Control key and tap the D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if we need more, we can always duplicate it more. So, or if we need less, we can backspace and erase them. I'm going to start positioning my windows over here onto the school building. Using that red line as a guide, I can make sure that they're even and in the same, that they're on the same horizontal plane. Let's see, that's 5, and one more for this row. I'm going to move this one over there. I love it. I think it looks great. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the next row. I'm going to make sure that I use those red lines as a guide to line them up. This way they're nice and even. And I'm positioning them just so. Again, if you get stuck somewhere along the line, you can pause the video. You can always rewind it however far you need to rewind it. And here we go. The last window is set. There we go. That is taking really good shape. I do want to add a line on the door because it just looks like a garage right now. So I want to add a line. The line tool is next to the shape tool. You're going to click it and select line. And lines can be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to bring it over here. My plus is showing me where it's going to go. And I'm going to use these dots as a guide. I'm going to position my plus right on that top dot. And in order to draw a straight line, I have to hold down the shift key. Otherwise, it's going to come out crooked, or I have to be exactly precise. So I'm going to push down my shift key. I'm going to click here, hold my mouse, and go down to the dot at the bottom. And then I can let go and I have my line. For this line, I want to make it white, so I'm going to select line color, change it to white, and I'm also going to make it thicker so we can see it. I'm going to click the thickness and change that to 3. So far, so good. So for the next thing, I want to add a clock face and then maybe a sign over here that says school and maybe some shingles to outline the roof. So we're almost done. I'm going to do the roof part first by using a rectangle. So I'm going to click shape, get a rectangle. This time I'm going to draw it myself. I'm going to draw it out myself by dragging down. And I'm going to remove the border line again and make it transparent. I will fill it with white. And I'm going to duplicate the, well, let's see. Before I duplicate it, I want to see how it looks. So it's obviously facing the wrong way. This blue dot at the top of the shape means that if I push and hold it, I can turn it. So before I duplicate it, let's see if I need to make it bigger. I do need to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hold down and drag it to make it a little bit longer. Now that I have it close to what I want it to be, I'm going to do Control D to duplicate it, and then I'm going to bring it around to the other side, push down on the dot and hold it, and turn. And then you can just position it on top of the other one. Next, I'm going to do our doorknobs, clock face, and a sign, and then we will be finished with our school. So I'll start with the clock face, and for that I'm going to put a circle, and I'm going to actually click that. I didn't hold on to my shift key, so I'm going to undo that. I started to lose the shape of my circle. It started turning into an oval. I'm going to add that and move it to the middle. Maybe I want to change that to black. Actually, before I change the color, let's see what kind of clock face we can find on our images. So next to the shape is a square with two mountains on it. I'm going to click that and then click the magnifying glass to search for a clock face. So over here on the side, I can have a Google image search, and luckily it's safe search. If I'm using my school device, it's a safe search, and I'm going to just type in clock and see what comes up. I think I like this one right here. I'm going to take that one. So I'm going to select it so it has a check mark, and then I'm going to click insert. And of course I'm going to have to shrink it down. I'm going to hold my shift key while I'm doing that so that it doesn't lose its shape, and then I'm going to move it over and center it right there in the middle of my school building. So now we're almost done. I'm going to add a sign that says school by clicking on a rectangle. And what's great about shapes is they also are a text box, which means that you don't have to add a text box. I'm going to fill this with white. You can type directly in a shape by double clicking on it, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment. This time I want to have a border weight of three. Yeah, we'll try 3. And I believe I have to select black. And now I'm going to double click inside my rectangle, and I have the ability to type inside of it. I'm going to choose a font that I like. You can choose any font that you want. I like Chelsea Market. I'm going to make it bold so that we really see it. And I want my word to be centered in the middle of the box. And the way to do that is click align, these lines over here. And then I'm going to choose center. And now anything that I type will automatically center. Maybe I want to lock my caps for this. Perfect. And now I can just take my sign, and if it's too big, I can change the size of it once I have it placed. Let's see. And the text will shrink down with it. So I'm going to do, there we go. Just move it in a little bit. And last, we need to make the doorknobs for our school. So for a doorknob, I'm going to use a circle, and I'm going to put it right there on the side. It's easier to work with it when it's not directly on your school building. I'm going to hold down my shift key, make it smaller, hold down my shift key and make it smaller. And it is hard to work with small shapes. Let me change it to white. I'm going to let it have a black border. And now I'm going to zoom the screen in because this looks like it would be too big. In order for me to really see and have a good view of where I'm going to be placing it, I'm going to use the zoom tool. Right here is the magnifying glass for zooming. And if you click the arrow, you can click zoom in. And maybe I just have to move my page over. There we go. And now I can actually drag it down and place it and see if it's too big. I can adjust that, and it is definitely too big. So I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to make it smaller, put it in the position that I want, and then I'm going to duplicate it. Control D, and now I have a second one. Let's see. There we go. Now, once I am zoomed in, I have to zoom back out. So in order to do that, I'm going to click again on the arrow, and then I'm just going to click fit. So it goes back to the page size that I had before. Our school looks terrific. I think though that I want to make a little bit of a scenery going on here. First, I want to group it so that I can move this whole thing as one piece instead of moving each piece individually. And how you're going to group it is you're going to just push down your mouse and drag out a box to have everything inside of a blue frame. Next, you will click Arrange, and then you can click Group. Now what you've done is you've made this school building movable instead of being a bunch of individual parts. I think for this scene, I'm going to add a grass bottom with a rectangle. Click Shape and draw out a rectangle at the bottom and maybe drag it over a tiny bit. I'm going to remove the border, make it transparent, and I'm going to change it to a grassy green color. And then I can move my school up so that we can see the whole thing. Move it down. There we go. And maybe I want to add some clouds or a sun. In our shapes section, we have some clouds, and we also have the sun. So I'm going to add those in. I'm going to change the color of my cloud to white, and I'm going to remove the border and make it transparent. Now that I have a cloud, I can Control D to duplicate it. And for my sun, I can make it a little bit bigger and move it up into the sky. I'm going to make its border transparent, and I'm going to change the color to yellow. Great job on making your school. Like I said, if you get stuck during the video, you can always pause it. You can go back and see how to do something that maybe you missed out on. Anyway, if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. My channel's new, so you may not find me again. Also, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and if there's something that you want to learn how to draw, leave a comment, and I'll put it up in one of the next future videos. Till next time, have a great day.